Yes, yes, yes. Cosmic Root Show. You are tuned in to Bless Radio 1 with Brother Siayome, a.k.a. Cosmic El Mystic, Ab Onkrem. And yes, you're tuned in again to the Cosmic Roots Show, reality of one's true self. So I trust that you all are well, and yes, energies are being intense. Everything seems to be getting even more so, but takes on a different flavor as we move through the progressiveness of these transits and energy activations like code emanations and penetrations. And we've just had this new moon yesterday in Scorpio. So I'm going to kind of go into some things this evening. And I'm going to play something a little later on, and which, yeah, supports where I'm going to be going with the show this evening. Um, just to kind of make a few announcements with some of the changes that has been going on. A lot of transformation. A lot of yeah, purging, you can say. A lot of purging and so forth. But yes, we've had a change. We've got a new website and so forth. This is this is blessradio .co.uk. You can access us on through that via that, on the internet. And yes, you can tune in live to us right now on YouTube. So, yes, and for those who would like to maybe call in and contribute, the number to call in as I'm in the studio this evening is 079 444 31366. That's 079 444 31366. Now. So, where I begin with this. So, I'm going to start with a little bit of, again, cosmic weather report and energies that are being activated, and to, yeah, and to expound on some things here, because there is a lot. This new moon was quite intense. Now, you might say it's always been intense. Depends on how you live in your life, But there is basically the physical and the non-physical existing side by side. The non-physical penetrates the physical. The non-physical actually contains all the forms, mentally, emotionally, physically, within itself. We've been under this idea that, you got a body and you got a soul, and the soul is within your body. And that type of idea, when we say spirituality or spiritual, we're really pertaining to the non-physical, you see. And in the truth of things, and when I say the truth of things, you see, when you're making that journey and you're doing the work within, then, talking about direct experience to end up tuning in to source within yourself, your higher self. These can be terms, because your higher self is actually universal in its consciousness, whereas what you could say is your lower self, which is we're really talking about a lower vibratory state of awareness. We're talking about the personality, which is a construct. Now, in the previous show, the spiritual talk was on emotions and about controlling emotions, and I asked the question about, where do emotions come from and so forth. Now, I understand, the whole idea that you got to crawl before you can walk and before you can run. But where I'm coming from is a case where you don't underestimate what people can pick up to what they can't, what will go over their head to what they may be able to catch and comprehend. So I look at things where it's like those who are meant to get the message will get the message, rather than holding yourself back from what you are a conduit for, in the sense of the spiritual knowledge you're here to convey. My intention is to expand consciousness. Start with my own, and I've come into this realm as a soul containing a truth that is very different to the man-made beliefs that we have been, the world programs that want to shape you into what they want you to be. So the personality construct is what you call the ego. And a lot of people talk about the ego, don't really know nothing about the ego. It becomes just a repetitiveness of intellectual concepts that a lot of us talk about as spirituality, when that's being really dealing with just in the psychophysical, mental, arena, when it's about transcending the psychophysical to enter to the psychospiritual. And this is when, meditation, concentration that opens the doorway to meditation, is what begins to take that journey inward to yourself. A lot of us take this journey and think it's an exterior journey. A lot of people go to other countries where they think is more spiritual than from where they come from. And, seek to get greater knowledge by sitting at the feet of, different learned men in the idea, or women, in the idea of, or the pursuit of getting more spiritual. And this is a very mental and Western pursuit, where it leaves a lot of people actually being taught under the guise of spirituality just mental concepts rather than direct experience of the divine within. Now, based upon the beliefs people carry in the sense of how they perceive what they call God, you see, based upon the limited perceptions or limited beliefs around something that is actually infinite, then what happens is that those limited beliefs interfere with how one would comprehend the true nature of themselves, because many of us want to hold on to our cherished beliefs and only accept things that may complement what you are already believing, or can make you upgrade, this same belief, by maybe just wording it in a different way, when it's the same limited idea, okay? Which it's an idea. So the personality is what you would say is the lowest self, or the counterfeit ego. Ego means I in Latin, and I have mentioned this in previous shows. But the thing is, sometimes a lot of times you have to understand that repetition is necessary for, knowledge to sink deeper into the inner regions, okay, of one, to take root in order for one to benefit from, so you can say new knowledge, but there's nothing new under the sun. But, bad habits have been created or adapted through repetition. And when you begin to learn something, so to speak, or you're introduced with certain information, at first you don't know nothing about it. So, you go to school, and you may not, as you begin, early so-called education, you're going to be introduced to things. We introduce things that at first you don't know. But just because you don't know it doesn't mean that you're not continued, or there's not a continuation of it being, you being exposed to that information. And through the repetition of being exposed to certain information, what you didn't know now becomes familiar. And then you begin to comprehend as it's repeated, that information is repeated to you. And then you now become more familiar, and then you now begin to open up more to the so-called understandings, okay, of some things. So everything begins with you first being introduced to something you may not have awareness of, but then through the constant exposure to that information, it becomes familiar. What was difficult to comprehend slowly becomes more easily comprehensive, and there you go. You start to progress, okay? So to kind of hold back knowledge because, you got to crawl before you can walk, I feel there's a lot of attempt to keep people docile, keep people limited, because people speak from their limited perspective and think that they can think for the billions of people on the planet, where you don't, you're putting limitations on what you think other people are able to comprehend. So with that, being said, there are things I'm going to be saying, and if you don't get it the first time, then listen back to the show. You see what I mean? Because it takes a level of personal effort to make any progress within, you can say, your spiritual growth and development. Now, when you use the term spiritual, let's just get this. We're not talking about religion here, because you see, you get words that are associated with things that are not really, they're not really about, you see. And a lot of false information becomes what we can regurgitate or spread, because again, through repetition, you have negative things or inaccurate things being said, and then it gets spread through repetition. People just pick up, it's like a relay baton, just pick it up and run with it. But there's no deeper introspection or inner thought from some to what they are actually just regurgitating and repeating, okay, from what they picked up and heard. So there is a need for sincere inquiry. Now, there's a word there's a term for those who are advanced in or take the foot on that path of self-realization. And this term you would have as called adepts. You have neophytes or neophytes, and you have adepts. Now, neophytes is like, they're kind of new to the stages, okay? New, yeah, a neophyte. But an adept is a sincere spiritual seeker that's dedicated, or a practitioner, to their own alignment, one that's devoted to their own enlightenment or expansion of consciousness, to their own balanced state of clarity as to who they are, what they desire, and why they are here, and what is most important. Now, when you approach your work, now, you have this saying that you shall be known, they shall be known by their works. A lot of us think that this work is all this physical thing. And look at the works I've done. Look at the work somebody else done. Compare the works of what somebody do to kind of be like, well, boy, I've done them works there, so what I do? And it's all this idea of like, you will know them by their works. But look here, it's not them kind of works. When we're thinking of these things you're doing externally, these things you're doing physically, materially, like to say, look how much effort I'm doing for charity, or look how much effort I'm doing for what would be considered some kind of spiritual piety, to say, you look at the works someone, has done, to say you will know them by their works. Well, you got the greater works and you got the lesser works. Now, the lesser works is all of that stuff you chasing on the outside to do, or in order to acquire, the personality, the ego construct is a construct. The mind, the emotion, and body, this is all part of your personality, which is called basically the counterfeit ego, the counterfeit identity. So this is your personality, this is your mask, this is who you personally believe yourself to be, based upon the story, the script, the narrative running through your mind, which generates the emotions based on the identification of who you believe yourself to be based on this story, okay? And then, your consciousness is identifying with the physical body. So this is really what a lot of people, this is who they believe themselves to be. The idea is being built around, the mind, emotion, and body, the story, the narrative, and what you've experienced in this life alone. And this is what a lot of people believe they consist of. That's it. Now, that's a very limited perspective of really who and what you are. And one can only, notice other things based when you expand your awareness to encompass those other things, okay? So I said earlier that the truth to be known is that your mind, emotions, and body is not, is really in your consciousness, okay? We don't really think much about the idea of space and emptiness, stillness and silence as being actually filled with life, intelligence, knowingness, creative power. Because we're always dealing with forms, okay? We're looking on forms, life forms. So we get very focused on the forms. And based upon where our attention goes, energy flows, we actually energize and give more kind of life or reality to that where our attention is focused. So because a lot of our attention is focused in the mind, emotions, and body, this is what people constitute to believe this is who and what they are. Now, we're living in a time here now where things are very much, change, this spread of this awakening as the terms and labels to, express things, convey things. But it's, we're in a new cycle. We're at the end of, we have completed 26,000 years cycle. A lot of people don't understand, well, so what does that mean? Well, it means that you're dealing with a brand new beginning of a whole heap of energies and another level and state of consciousness. Whereas the way things were perceived in the last 2,000 years are now moving into progress from there into the new age, which is being called Aquarius, which it is, the archetype of that. But each age lasts for 2,160 years. So this is where you get the 12 times 12 because you're dealing with 12 signs in the disc of life called the Zodiacus, which then come to, calculates up to 25,920, rounded up to the nearest 100, which you then get 26,000 years. So that's a completion of a complete cycle. So we're at the beginning of a new 26,000 year cycle as the cosmic awakening of the archetype of Aquarius. That psychic energy is going to become more prominent on the planet. And as you see, it's being expressed in the ways of technology and the inundation of information. Okay? Now, Aquarius is about I know, whereas, previous 2,000 years was based upon belief because it was only few who had direct knowledge of the source within them around that time, because you're dealing with the oppression of consciousness and the suppression of truth, and where it was a time of deception and how two extremes of the same thing was now being interpreted as duality, opposition, separation, and then now looking for this source of yourself outside from yourself. And this set the foundation for a load of institutions that were established based upon deception, lies, and oppression, and slavery. Okay? Slavery has been going on for more than 400 or 500 years. It's been going on for around 2,000 years. And, this goes back way before you're dealing with, the European colonization, the Britain going around colonizing, how many, about 200 countries. But prior to that, you have the Islamic slave trade, which still goes on. Some of us people don't want to hear about these things. And they just focus on one little bitty place in history and, lock themselves in a time loop, which also doesn't enable them to progress. Because we're getting caught up in narratives and stories which keep you trapped and limited in this force identification of what you're using to identify with, okay? Now, ignorance is not bliss, but hey, the situation is that we're living in a time where your consciousness needs to expand out of the old paradigm, which was based upon separation and not unity. And this separation is basically a perception in consciousness that was not in alignment with natural law or universal principles of truth. So for 2,000 years, basically, you've just been indoctrinated with man-made beliefs, okay? And, like you got manufactured items and goods and products. You got manufactured concepts, ideas about who you really are, which are not the reality of you at all. So these beliefs in separation, these beliefs in fear, these beliefs that, you got to look for your happiness outside of yourself. Okay? All of these things has been a condition for generations, and you can see how many people are very focused on the exterior. The interior becomes a terrain that is like feared by many to go into themselves. So there's a track like, you heard that tune by Bob Marley, the Wailers there when we're talking about running away. You can't run away from yourself, yeah? So that's true, because wherever you go, you are there, okay, with you. You can't run from yourself. So we coming back to what I'm saying here now about the new moon, because I'm going to bring everything in correlation around this because of why the energies in the time is very intense. And there's not one size fit all. So not everybody is going to be experiencing this theme in the same way. But let me just clarify some things. When you have a full moon, not a full moon, a new moon, okay? Now, new moon is when the sun, or when the moon conjuncts with the sun. So the sun is representative or symbolic, or also with its energy, it's actually expressive of the masculine, okay? And the moon is symbolically representative of the feminine, okay? So when you get the moon conjuncting with the sun, what you have is a conjunction, meaning joining together of the masculine and feminine principle within yourself, or the masculine and feminine archetypes within yourself, or the inner and the outer, the right and the left. You see, we're talking about reintegration. Integration is wholeness from a separative, fragmented consciousness to a reintegrated consciousness, because we began with a whole consciousness, meaning we are aware of our oneness, our wholeness, and the word whole means health, and you're dealing with the nature of the soul, that which reflects the nature of the soul. So you got the moon that reflects the light of the sun. Now the moon represents the inner deeper subconscious, where the deeper awareness of yourself resides. The sun represents the outer expression and radiance of that inner light. So you got the electric, which is the masculine expression when you're dealing with that which is active, radiant, giving off energy, and directive power. This is the masculine aspect. Now we're talking about principles here. We're not chatting about personalities as in to keep things twisted up in the human egoic construct, because that's what your personality is. Now you have spirituality. As I said, spirit means non-physical. So it's about the non-physical reality of yourself. But you can have this hijacked by the egoic personality, where ideas of spirituality are just about spiritual concepts rather than the direct experience and, of the ultimate connection you are to have with source within yourself. Because as I said, for the last 2,000 years, the whole concept and precept is being about, perceptions being about outside, okay? Separate from you, okay? So this new moon is dealing with a deep, deep reflection of where we have absorbed energies from others, which we've taken on and have become our values, or the way we evaluate and the way we feel and now relate to ourselves. Scorpio is about merging, commitment, trust, but it's also as a water sign, as a feminine sign energy, it's also what you absorb from others. Okay? So it's not everything you're walking around with in your energy field belongs to you. But you feel energies coming off of others. People want to chuck their stuff that's going on inside of them onto you. You carry it. You're taking responsibility for these vibes you're picking up. And these things have been really getting in the way of the path of your soul, because Scorpio also represents the awakening to soul consciousness, because it's about going into the underworld, the deep darkness, the interior. Now, the thing with the darkness can represent, different things. Okay. Now, in the darkness is where, you got growth taking place in the darkness. Deep in the underworld, like you can say in the bowels of the earth, you have a lot of activities going on. And based upon what's taking place within the darkness and over periods of time, you get an establishment of a vibrational frequency. For example, diamonds, precious stones, these things are generated within the bowels, in the darkness of the earth, you see. And so the darkness can represent where things are actually maturing, okay? And getting stronger and stronger until it emerges forth to be revealed, like a seed planted in the soil, you see? But then you got another form of darkness which symbolizes ignorance to oneself. It's like walking in a dark room and you cannot see no form if the light isn't switched on. Now, the light is symbolic of your light of awareness, the light of consciousness, which makes the forms known. Without the light of consciousness, there is no forms. Forms are not going to be made known to you. The light of consciousness is what even lights up the universe to make you be able to see the forms in the universe. So the light of consciousness is actually the source, and all forms exist within the light of consciousness. So the light is symbolic of consciousness, and consciousness is symbolic of life. So consciousness, which is the essence of who you and what you are, this is the non-physical you, the spiritual, okay? Whereas the physical is the visible aspect of what is representative of the non-physical, unlimited consciousness that you are. So we get caught up in the personality construct, as I said earlier, about the story that we carry and hold on to. There is someone I want to play. I want you to hear what she's got to say. Sister Nubian Design, I think that's it. It's Nubian Design. And she's mentioning something about, her way. She's talking about the new moon in Scorpio. And I'm going to play you this in a moment as I set things up in order to get that happening. Now, yeah. So we have this new moon in Scorpio, okay? And we got a retrograde, Mercury retrograde, that is getting ready to start or begin at the end of October, which is the 31st of October. So in a few days' time. So what we got going on here is some serious deep transformation. And what also is going to go on here is that the energies and the frequencies that you are generating based upon your communication. How are you communicating with yourself? What's the thoughts? What thoughts, okay? How are you talking? Because every thought is an electric energy, and every feeling is magnetic. So your thoughts is electric. I've said this before. That's, repetition is necessary in order to, become familiar with the unfamiliar. You know what I'm saying? When you're dealing with knowledge and as you grow through, degrees, if you want to say, And you get degrees in college, don't you, universities, to turn around and tell you that you are ascending in degrees, okay? So we have this retrograde, Mercury retrograde, getting ready to take place. Now, Mercury is symbolic. Look how quicksilver. So it's about the quick rapidness of your thoughts, okay, of how the mind, a lot of people, even when we, identifying with the mind, and oh God, the mind can't stop, and they identify with all the thoughts that's passing through it, through this energy field, this electromagnetic energy field penetrating your brain. So saying that the thoughts is electric and magnetic, feelings are magnetic, this is now showing you that the way you're thinking, the communication you are having is setting up an inner vibration, okay? It's setting up an inner vibration, and this is what draws to you that which you're calling. This is what you're drawing to you, that which you are calling based upon what's being built upon the conversation you're having with yourself, okay? Your thoughts, identification, the identification with what you're holding on to and believing is you, okay? Now, as I said, this retrograde, Mercury retrograde, is going to be taking place in Scorpio. So this is about your mental framework. This is about the need for some real great change on a more deeper, inner level. Scorpio represents the house of mystery. It represents that part of ourselves, what we call the deeper innermost, where we have to go into those deep caverns, okay, in order to examine the psychological, emotional structure of what we're identifying with as ourselves, in order to come to the realization that we are of who we are beyond those psychological ideas or constructs that has been used to formulate our personality. Now, personality is the mask, okay? And it's like identifying with the clothes, the outer garments. It's like taking the wrapper off the sweet, eating the wrapper, throwing away the sweet, and believe that you know yourself. You know what the sweet is, or dashing away the fruit and eating the peel and saying, yeah, you know what the fruit is. So that's what the personality is like. So it's a construct. It's a program. It's being programmed by the world. It's being programmed by the society you're in, the culture you're in, your parents, and so forth, and family. But this program also goes deeper than that. So Mercury retrograding is about going within. When something is in a retrograde, and look, in reality, the planets don't do that. This is about perception because you're dealing with energy. Nothing in your world is solid, okay? You're dealing with electrical particles. You're dealing with atoms that fuse together to create elements. And these elements also then become the chemical compounds that then create molecules. And then the molecules then become that which moves on to create cells. And then from cells, you have, from a baby to a plant, man, is built up out of cells. But you go back to the roots and you find that you're dealing with electrical particles, which is called atoms, okay, in modern science. Now, therefore, nothing in your world is solid. Therefore, your thoughts are energy. Your feelings are energy. Your mind is running on energy. Your emotional body is energy in motion. Your physical body is a combination of atoms, okay? Ions, electrons, you know what I mean? And atoms are made up of protons, neutrons, electrons, yeah? So all the way, what you're dealing with is energy, okay? That's what you're dealing with. So energy gets directed. Energy neither is destroyed, created or destroyed. Energy just takes on different forms. So this retrograde is going to be about the fears, not just the fears. What am I saying here? What I'm saying is that the darkness, as I said, has different connotations. And what is it symbolizing, rather than taking something literal and just staying there with that? The darkness also becomes the fears for many people. Okay? You know, what's in the dark. Darkness also can symbolize the unknown. You see? Darkness can also represent the absence of light. But it's to understand that this is symbolizing or being an analogy for things you need to understand in its correct context. So darkness is like the unknown, the fear of the unknown. The darkness is where you want to hide something that you do not want to be exposed, okay? Revealed, brought out to the light. So when there are things that one pushes down or denies in themselves, then what happens with that energy, what it then becomes called is suppressed energy. And that suppressed energy becomes psychic blocks in your energy fields where you cannot receive certain things because you've got energy blocks. You're disconnecting yourself from the wholeness of who you are because there's some things you are resisting about yourself. So the new moon in Scorpio is going to be revealing things that have been hidden in the dark, bringing up things that have been suppressed in the dark. In order for these things to be brought forward from the unconscious, which is your subconscious, to become brought up to your conscious awareness, in order for aspects of yourself you're denying to be integrated into you. But also, it represents things that you've been holding on to that is not you. Okay? That is not you. And this is also why Scorpio also represents purging. Purifying, purging yourself, getting rid of toxicity. So that can be toxic thoughts, toxic feelings, toxic emotions, toxic friends, toxic relationships. And that which is not supporting your soul's incarnation intention. So Scorpio also represents the soul because it's governed by Pluto. Now, represents the soul, it is the soul because when you're looking at these planetary bodies, just like they tell you that this planet Earth is conscious, well, all of those heavenly bodies are consciousness. And that body represents the personality, okay, behind or that consciousness is operating through. So, and there is stages of the expansion of the even consciousness of planets. When planets transcend the personality and now is aligned with its higher self, knows itself as consciousness, the formless awareness, that all forms of the substance that has, all the electromagnetic particles, the substance that has gone into giving form, okay, for consciousness to experience itself through, it has come from the source, which is consciousness itself. Now, what you've been taught to believe creates a block in people, creates a limitation, because this limitation limits your perception, okay, of yourself. Now, all is consciousness made manifest. But what we've been taught is that this source of your existence is a personality, a person with all human attributes. And this is what has caused so much suffering or people to believe that the suffering they're experiencing is due to what they call God and their belief about the nature of this being, okay? Because it's the creator and responsible for everything that's happening in the world. So if there was a loving God, why would he allow all of these atrocities to take place? We're living in a time where no more scapegoating is going to be able to happen. Because God is consciousness. And you have to be really a sincere, as I said, an adept to really step on this path to know the source of your consciousness, because that's what you are. And even your physical body has originated from this source. But as long as you use terms on this planet, earthbound things to define yourself, you will be in a prison which is being self-created. So whenever anything comes in the way to persistently, continually get in the way of the soul's trajectory, that gets in the way of your soul's path, this is when, you got to clear out the pipes. So this is why this new moon and this conjunction, this unification, which is basically integrity, reintegration, out away from this separation, the separative perspective or perception that we have been, looking at ourselves, trying to, understand things in. When this inner union, it's an inner union that has to take place, and a new moon comes through the union of the moon and the sun. Okay, so what I'm saying is that there's going to be the fears through retrograde. There's going to be things, the dark thoughts, the negative thoughts you've got in your mind, the negative thoughts that you are thinking with, which then establishes the emotional body, your emotions, the way you feel about yourself. This then, what you've taken from others, and taken on responsibility. When people are not dealing with their own stuff, and what comes up in them due to what you symbolize to them, and they project that onto you. What you reject or what you reject in yourself, you project, and you carry these things, these feelings, these vibes, vibrational frequencies that are not yours, and you've been taking responsibility for all of that for all these times. And these are the things you need to purge and get rid of, because the energies with this new moon is really all to do about your soul and aligning to your higher self. So let me tell you something a bit about this plutonic energy that actually is, what governs all those who are of Pluto, okay? It governs Scorpio, okay? But it doesn't matter if you are not of the, of Scorpio sun sign. It's Scorpio time now. Sun has entered into Scorpio, so happy solar return to all of y'all. But you see, you're dealing with that deeper inner part, that deeper inner aspect of ourselves. That's what Scorpio represents in all of us. It also represents the regenerative organs. It represents the life force principle, life, death, and transmutation. So with this energy here, this new moon is going to come these lessons. And there's a lot of tension. There's a lot of, Mars, which governs also a co-ruler of Scorpio, is in Libra right now. Libra's about relationships. So there can be some really heated and, communication and conversations happening based upon how one wants to go forward and how the relationship you are having needs to, where you got to find this harmony and balance. This is what Libra wants. Find the balance from imbalance. Mars, that energy inside of yourself, desire, how you express yourself and how you go for what you desire. It wants to move forward. It doesn't really want to negotiate and talk. But there needs to be this talk because there's a new sense of self emerging and there is a new way how you want to move, okay? Which means that there are going to be people that's going to have to drop off. They're not vibrating on your frequency. We are having a vibrational separation of the wheat and the chaff. And it's breaking a cycle of repetition of the same narrative of suffering and survival and death and decay, the fears that people have within themselves based on the ego personality, identification, the fear of death. Scorpio deals with death. But death is the ultimate letting go. So you don't stay locked in a lower frequency, and can't get out of it. So you give thanks for this ultimate and stage to let go of the force construct that's been limiting you throughout this, incarnation. So some folk ain't doing the great work, which is an inner journey, not this outer work, what you want to show other people to prove that you're, whatever. That, people use other people to compare themselves to when you can only be you because no one else is like you. You are a unique individual expression of source. And what you have with the society that keeps you focused on the outer is superficial people, fake folk. Can't be who they really are because they have to fit in with, the Joneses. You got to fit in with your peers. You're afraid of being yourself because you may no longer be accepted by the group or the crowd that you may be seeking your sense of belonging from, you see. So there is, and there's also this fear and limitation based upon what you believe, this God you hold, and believe this idea of God, which is a concept. This, if you still believe in a rewarding and punishing God. You see a lot of people doing things based upon this fear, again, fear that is being used to control you. This force, this power outside of yourself. So, so I'm going to play you something in a minute, but I'm going to just go into breaking down something about this Pluto because you're dealing with the underworld, deeper inner energies here. And when you're dealing with this generation who has Pluto and Scorpio, this is, they have a correlation with the generation who are of the Pluto in Virgo generation. Pluto and Scorpio generations of need for self-empowerment. Because you see, the whole thing is about feeling empowered or not empowered. And when you feel empowered, you feel self-confident. When you feel empowered, you trust yourself. When you're empowered, you don't need to try to have power over other people in order to feel empowered. Because you are tuning into the source of power within yourself. So there's going to be themes of empowerment within this retrograde. Where you don't feel empowered, what makes you feel empowered, what you're doing in how you're using energy to abuse others to feel empowered that way. Okay? So there are lessons coming up here, okay, to make the grade. You got to do the inner work in order to be able to gain the energy and the power, you see. It's also about reclaiming your personal power where you've given it away, okay? The lessons of Pluto are related to our personal path of what is called evolution, which is really means unfoldment. But we are not part of an evolutionary process. We are part of a divine, creational, and intelligent process. Okay? So we're not really, because this idea of evolution is to say that, all right, apes were once apes. And then after thousands of years, hundreds of thousands of years, maybe they're even trying to tell you not even that long, but they're saying one thing evolved into what we got now walking around. That's what you call evolution, right? Saying that basically the science is telling you that the intricate design of all the, species and creations all happen by a chance mutation. That's what evolution is telling you. But there's an intelligent design behind everything. So it cannot be a random and chance mutation, okay? Which is what they say the trajectory of evolution is about. So I use the word evolution only because, you have all of this talk about we need to evolve, Now, if you look at the word evolve, it actually means to unfold. And if you look at a seed planted in the earth, there is a certain process of evolution that takes place, but that's not how you came here. It's an unfoldment of further growth and maturity or development of that which already is. For example, a plant, a seed, is conscious knowledge. It contains the knowledge of itself, of what it's to be already within itself. And it needs to be planted or positioned within the right environment that will enable it to grow and to be given the correct nourishment and nutritions that support its growth and development. But the seed doesn't look outside of itself to ask any other thing to know how to become what it is to be, because it already has that knowledge within itself. So what evolution is this steady unfoldment as through time a progression of growth and maturity into the more fuller expression of what you really are, okay? Of the truth of whom you is. But that which is not who you are, this is what Pluto now with its intensity is coming in to remove from your path. Because we come here based on our soul's desire. And desire is what sets everything in motion, okay? So when you're dealing with Scorpio, you're dealing with the deeper desire of the soul, rather than the desire of the ego personality or the personality construct. It's a construct, okay? And that's a program from the world, from outside. And a lot of people don't seek to know who they are beyond the mind, emotions, and physical body suit, okay? These vehicles, these forms. Because you got thought forms, you got energy forms, you got physical forms. So these are still forms. So if you're going to talk about spiritual is about the non-physical. Okay? So if you're still identifying with your mind and emotions and your body as you, rather than constructs, instruments, creative tools that the you actually directs and creates through and experiences itself through, then you got the airiness relationship with yourself. It's like having a jacket on back to front. So the lessons we got going on here, where all these activations, the cosmic weather, the universal tides, the light code transmissions from the sun and from various galactic centers, all of this energy is actually all about enabling ones to expand their consciousness and to raise their vibrational frequency, which is how you expand. And people think about ascension as moving from, here on the earth to up there in the universe somewhere. Whereas expansion or raising your frequency is really the expansion of your consciousness as the vibration steps up another level. Okay? Like musical notes. Okay? So it's not something to be seen from more of an escapist perspective, which does get, that type of spirituality does get, or so-called, knowledge thing called spirituality. This is what you get taught, especially in this new age, which is like, you mean a new cage that people are caught up in and don't understand that this awakening cycle that we're in, as I mentioned, we've completed a 26,000 year cycle. So that's a complete round, and now we're on a new round, okay? A new cycle where you spiral higher in your spin, okay? So in your frequency. So that means that the density has to drop off, that which is weighing you down, that those ideas, those thoughts, those false identifications that's keeping you earthbound in your perception of yourself. You got to get rid of it. Okay. So this is where we're going to be getting all of this intensity of stuff coming up to the surface in order to be purged from you. And we're dealing with vibrational separating the wheat from the chaff. You're no longer, it's already been happening. For the last 10 years, you may have been moving away from that which you might have been associated with more intimately with. 10 years ago, you may find throughout time you've been changing in yourself, your views, if you're doing the inner work to realize who you are beyond the narratives, beyond the form, beyond the emotions, beyond the thoughts, labels. You begin to step away and see through the limitations of a lot of these doctrines. A lot of the stuff that you hear repeated for 30, 40, 50 years. And people ignorant to the fact that what they're talking about and the way they're thinking is part of a creative process that they are keeping in place. As long as they, because they're holding on to that false identity and narrative, the pain and the trauma of, the story. Now, Scorpio also deals with ancestors, and look, all ancestors ain't good, A lot of, those who have not been doing the inner work and have just been, out of alignment with their own soul incarnation intention, are who you're also calling your ancestors. And whomever you is, these limited labels, black, white, Indian, Chinese, all these, you all got ancestors. We all got ancestors. But all your ancestors ain't benevolent. You see what I'm saying? Just like you can look whole heap of different people on this planet. Is everybody benevolent? Are they? Of course not. So when you're dealing with ancestors, my ancestors, when you get very personal, my ancestors, you gotta be clear that if you're talking about ancestors, you want to call upon your divine ancestors, not just our ancestors. That don't mean nothing. People being sold out in all different type of ways by people who, supposed to be of your own kind, so to speak, okay? On a surface level. So when you talk about ancestors, and this is also, you're dealing with Scorpio, life, death, and transmutation, a lot of this energy is going to be coming up because of the things you've inherited. And, family curses, so to speak. You know what I mean? All the stuff hidden in the dark. The gossip mongers, those who want to talk about people the way they want to talk about them. They don't see the energy that they're generating to come back on themselves. You're going to talk about people, gossip about people, and you don't know them. You don't know yourself, so you don't know them. And the idea people have of themselves, I've already said that, all of that ain't who you are. But, you're creating this force. You're giving power to a force construct. And the more one is attached to this force construct, the more you're going to feel the pain when you begin to lose things that you're identifying with to say is you. Well, this is where the ego is going to experience the pain as these things get removed from them. And it's only the resistance based on the ego, the little ego, okay, your personality, your construct, psychological, emotional construct. That's what's going to feel the pain when these energies, this plutonian energy is starting to destroy all of that which is in the soul's path. Anything that's in the way of the soul's path is going to be destroyed. So the things that people value and what you're holding on to, the illusion of things, the more attached you are to that, the more pain you're going to experience when it's being torn from you, okay? Because you are here to find yourself. So Pluto's lessons are related to the personal path of your evolution, our soul's mission, the path of the unfoldment our soul chose when, you decided to take on this body, this creative vehicle. Now, more times we don't remember what we came in here, all right, when we come into the earthly plane, we don't remember. Yeah, there's a lot of distraction on the earthly plane, a lot of programming by parents, society, social media, cultural conditioning, social programming. So there's many things in this 3D dimension that distracts us from or causes us to forget what our soul desire is and mission actually is. Okay, so part of Pluto's, you can say, activation, its lessons, is destroying anything that has been placed in our path that is keeping us from staying on that keeps us from staying on that soul mission and trajectory. So it's about destroying or getting rid of what's being placed on one's path that keeps you from fulfilling your soul's mission here. So Plutonian energy is also a transmuting force. So it's more like a metamorphosis. It's more than transformation. It's that by the end of this retrograde, you're going to be, it's going to be like you're not going to be even resembling the same of who you were before, like a caterpillar and a butterfly. You can't compare them. They're a complete change. So you're dealing with the transmuting force. So all of this is inner vibrations within ourselves, inner states and aspects of ourself. So when we're dealing with this Plutonian energy within ourselves, it doesn't operate on an earthly perspective. As I said already, it's operating from a higher plane of consciousness. So what's coming up, this Plutonian energy, the soul energy, it doesn't care about your egoic stuff. It doesn't care about your personality attachments and egoic, the false construct of the personality, okay? It doesn't business about that. It business about the soul being free. So Pluto also, deals with your subconscious and all of the patterns and compulsions and repeating karmic cycles, okay, that you want to be rid of, okay? Pluto correlates, I'm talking about your soul now. Let me get into this. It correlates with the soul because you are the soul, okay? Your mind, your emotional body and physical body, even your chakra system is in your emotional body, your energy body, and all of that is contained within your consciousness. It's not the other way around. You're not a body with a mind and emotions and you got a soul, and somehow your soul is in your body. Your mind, your emotions, and your physical body is within your soul, within your consciousness. And as I said, when you're dealing with spirituality, when you're dealing with spirit is non-physical. So there's this non-physical greater reality of yourself that many are not focusing on because the consciousness is, you got your consciousness focusing more on your physical, okay? Not saying that the physical doesn't play an important part, but the thing is this. It is not who you are. You're being directed by that which you're supposed to be the director of. So this is what happens with force, teachings. But let me continue here. So what we got, so Pluto correlates to the soul, right? So then the question is, what is the soul? We hear a lot of things talked about it. Now, the thing is, you can experience yourself directly. This is something that you don't have to depend upon books to, read. Books can help you, like it can direct you to answers. But you have to directly experience yourself, man. Because this is the time we're dealing with. Even just going back quickly about Mars being in Libra, you're gonna have a lot of people talking about who's a hypocrite and who's not being real and who's being fake, and you're gonna have a lot of talks with that. Who is being real, who isn't? Because there's this need for justice, yeah, but it's divine justice. You cannot expect things to be clarified, rectified through man's version of justice. So really, Libra is about divine justice, to find that balance and equilibrium, which is the nature of the universal intelligence, which you've drawn your being from, which therefore is the nature of your soul, okay? Harmony and balance. So when things get imbalanced or off balance, then there are laws of the universe which kick in to readdress that, okay? So what is the soul, huh? The soul is an immutable consciousness, meaning it doesn't change. It's immutable consciousness energy that, cannot be destroyed. Yeah. It can only change form. You've heard of this thing about energy can neither be created nor destroyed. They're talking about you. But because you're not talking about consciousness energy and understanding the true nature of consciousness, to know the true nature of yourself, to know the true nature of the creator, people are still holding on to this God theologian, orthodox, man-made, stuff, which is like talcum powder when you actually need flour to bake a cake. So the soul is immutable. So I like to clarify, unchanging, yeah? Mutable means to change, mutation. Immutable is unchanging. So that's what your soul is. Consciousness energy that cannot be destroyed. It can only change form that speaks, now that speaks of the evolution I was talking about, right? The unfoldment of the soul. So it's a progressive, it goes from progressive lifetime to lifetime. The soul is inherently stays intact. So your soul is immutable consciousness that lives through lifetime and lifetime. And it changes form, but itself, as the consciousness it is, always stays intact. So the soul's evolutionary process is also to purge away or to get rid of the forced barriers or false conditioning that we've taken on, okay, or taken in, that does not reflect our soul's nature. It's essentially getting rid of the things that we are not. So, in the East, there's a saying, nete, which is not this, not that, not this, not that. This is what your soul is, purging itself from, all of the beliefs, all of these illusionary barriers, all of these false concepts, these false conditionings that has been taken on, how you've absorbed these things that do not reflect the soul's nature. So what doesn't reflect our soul's nature cannot keep perpetuatingly, it cannot continue perpetually. So this is the reason why, after various period of time, when things are caught up in a repetitive cycle because, you're caught up on a karmic loop and the soul ain't making the progression that it desires, then this is when you get the Plutonian energy that comes to tear away, destroy what the ego puts in the path of the soul to get in its way so you don't grow, basically. All right? So you keep having to come back to graduate, and you make it gets more gradual and slow and long. So because you're not doing the great work. The great work is the inner work. The lesser work is the outer things you're dealing with, serving the personality based upon the conditioning, the values, the beliefs you have of what, you believe, makes you feel success and all of this and that. What you're being taught by the world, basically. The world wants to shape and mold you into what it wants when you have actually an innate nature, an innate truth that is now rising within. And this pulse is getting stronger. So your soul is an immutable consciousness, okay? That, it progresses through lifetime to lifetime, and inherently stays intact. It's indestructible. But what is driving and facilitating this this need to progress, this progressive need, of the soul? What drives this evolutionary progression is desire. And Scorpio is about desire, and desire is what's behind, whether you understand the nature of your desire or not. That is the fuel behind what propels you into motion, okay? So desire is what's of the soul desire. This is what propels the soul, okay? To keep coming into further incarnations to progress and liberate itself from the illusions. So desire is what fuels is the bottom line, basically. Fuel for the soul's evolution. So when you look at Plutonian energy, it correlates to our underlying desires of the past that we pick up with coming into this life. Within the soul there, so within our soul, there are two co-equal existing antithetical desires. One to return to source and the other to separate away. And it is exactly the interfacement between these two desires in our soul which determines the nature of our current reality. So we are changing timelines and a whole paradigm, y'all, because we're in the awakening, and the quickening, okay? So these separative desires that coexist within the soul, which are antithetical, it's through the interfacement between these two desires which determines the nature of our current reality. Now, the why is where you get. So you get the thing, why is things the way they are? Why is this happening to me? Why is the world the way it is? The why. And as a child, before you have the your mind cluttered with all of these beliefs and indoctrinations and, prejudice and judgment, all the things you start to pick up in the world. Before that, your child's curious mind is open and it's asking why. It wants to get to the root core of that which is asking and inquiring about. Okay? So that's what a why does. So like you ask, why do I desire this? Why do I desire that? This enables you to reflect back into yourself, okay? To get these answers deep within your core. But many people don't know the why behind the motivation, their desire. So they feel compelled. They're operating through compulsion, okay? So that is an unconscious, you're unconsciously reacting to a desire you don't even know why. And this is also strongly held in place through past incarnations, okay? So when we get an understanding to the why, you see, this is the important thing. When we get an understanding to the why, in order to comprehend, how these two desires interact at any given moment in our lives, we can then potentially make choices, you see, all right? Choices that facilitate deeper growth and a healing from wounds which, we've occurred from this or other lifetimes. So this is the deep stuff, yeah, that we're dealing with this retrograde, and this is deep, deep. Like the full moon we had in Aries was about a 35-year, yeah, breaking away from a way of being that you can't continue being. And now Scorpio is about this 10-year. It's like last 10 years you've been feeling this change and be feeling basically the limitations behind just the way, what you've been carrying, the density you've been carrying around, man. So we're in a very deep transformational energies here. Transmutating and transformational energies. So this new moon is strong. But you know what now? I'm going to play you something. And yeah, make what you do from how this sister is breaking down what I'm breaking down things here. Because there's some things in it that I feel the reason why I'm sharing it is that it's better, her saying it. And you're hearing also somebody else. But there are certain things in there. And for you, all, if you resonate with it, you'll know. Because she touches on different things. So it's all related, though, to this new moon in Scorpio. Because basically, you're given an opportunity, see? Because it's choices, yeah? And it's about these deep desires and to understand why. Are you dealing with the desire of your soul in the sense of being in tune with, because it's about getting in touch now with the intrinsic truth you carry within. So this Scorpio new moon brings in the matrix for some, because folk are stuck in it, all right? They may have an Agent Smith, shit going on. And majesty for others, where you're stepping into your inner power. You're tapping into the inner power of your soul, which is really, we're talking about divine consciousness because you're really consciousness. You're the formless awareness. Spiritual being is the formless awareness of being, where all forms come forth from, is the source of all form, okay? But because the perception is so physical, people's idea and the way the science have been and how everything has been deception for the last 2,000 years, looking on the exterior and believing you're separate from this God, this source, and you gotta, go through suffering in order to serve this source, to please this source. Even people still now who may even talk about universal consciousness, they still have this God, this religion, orthodox religious perspective on this God. So there's fear behind it. There's not this understanding about themselves. They're not understanding this is about you, the science of yourself. Right? There's the science, and hey. Yeah, man, knowing thyself is so vital for you to understand in order to be who you truly are. But anyway, look here. I'm going to play this and going to listen to the sister here. And, I'm going to give you all 20 minutes and tune into what this sister's got to say. Then I'm going to come back about the higher self and so forth. So this new moon, as you know, by now you're getting that this is an intense one. It's a purging one. It's a transmutational one. And it's going to be matrix for some and majesty for others. And and as I've just said about Well, I'm getting feedback with me. Um, your spiritual majesty, as it's in the intro, yo. Stepping into your power and tapping into untapped power and taking your personal power back from whom, you know, you know, manipulators and all of that. So anyway, tune into the sister and hear what she's dropping.
Empowering everyone, Nubian Divine, Nubian News with the Z. I am so excited to be bringing you your Scorpio new moon. I am beamed in from the year 2020, bringing you massages that are going to help you use information that you need to know to help you be the best version of you.
They're all ready.
Whatever information you need to know is in the link below. We literally have 9 books that are coming out here at Nubian News with the Z, on top of my birthday party, on top of my new meals, fully raw cookbook release party that's coming out, and the book, and Little Girl with the Light, which is our children book, which will be released in 5 different languages. That is Spanish, Arabic, Hebrew, French, and English. 5 different languages, y'all. So we're so super excited to be dropping that download for each and every one of you and for your little ones as well. We also have School of the Masterminds that is coming up here at Nubian News with the Z that is coming in.
Okay, yeah, she's going through an introduction, so I'm just going to get to the meat of the stuff. All right? Mm-hmm.
But for those of you who have signed up, to help you glide your stride. And so it is, and so it is, and so the hell it is. That's right, y'all. So let's talk about what's clouding your read, shall we? Clown your read, we have the World card, we have the Eight of Wands, and we have the Queen of Cups, and we have my black ass. Where's Mr. Turtle at?
Mr. Turtle too.
Mr. Turtle, we need Turtle's ass over here too. All right, where's Mr. Turtle? Not just the fact that slow and steady wins the race, but this was all about pace. And those of you who have paced yourself to be in this dimensional shift, this frequency, then you are on the frequency. You are literally in the timeline of the now. You have major shift, you have major transformation. But those of you who were a little impatient with the frequency, then that specific vibration can work against you, especially in these energies that are here. And we're going to go ahead and just jump right in and talk about what's clowning your read, okay? All right, right there, Mr. Turtle. Okay, so what I see here for you with this World card, this Eight of Wands, and this Queen of Cups is there's communication that's coming in for a lot of you, but this communication is mainly built off of what it is that you have been telling yourself, what it is that you have drawn in for yourself, what it is that you have built in for yourself frequency-wise. What have you been telling yourself? Have you been looking outside of yourself for someone else to seal the deal with you? Authenticate you. We're in the energy shift where it's all about you being within your own mind balance, balancing your mind, balancing your thoughts, balancing the divinity within you. I feel that so many people have spoken negativity. So many people have not realized the importance of defining yourself and also letting go people, places, and things that no longer serve your livelihood, your probability. Although someone may have been able to make shifts with you during these paradigm shifts at specific times, we have stepped into realms where a lot of people who have started with you cannot always go with you. And many people will be very upset with you. They're going to be very upset with you because when your ancestors and your guides say cut them off, you have to cut them off, because not only are you not doing them a disservice, but not only are you doing yourself a disservice, but you're doing them a disservice by handicapping them, by holding on to them. Many people will try to ride your coattail, but the thing about it is trying to ride your coattail is actually hurting them more, because it's very interesting, because when my ancestors took me on this journey, my ancestors had me work with a few people, and I had to cut a few people off. And when I cut them off, I was told specifically to tell them that I cannot work with you because you cannot work with anyone right now. The only one that wants to work with you are your ancestors. And I don't get in the way of anyone's ancestors at all. I allow the frequency and the flow to tell me what it is that I need to do, because I'm always checking everything constantly. So I feel like a lot of you are in that space where You felt the need to let someone go, but you didn't necessarily let them go, or you did let them go and then they got pissed off at you or upset with you, which in essence really show you their true character in the first place. Because a true friend, a true coworker, a true business partner is always going to say, okay, there's no love lost, it's all good, we can still be cordial or cool, but there's no hate or no shade against you. But at the same time, when you do have to cut certain people off, then they begin to show their true colors, because a true relationship or a true revelation of a relationship will show you a person's motives or true intentions at the end of a relationship. This is why when there are breakups in a relationship, you see many people just start going ham or acting crazy, like right literally at the end of the relationship, not so much during, but at the end, which goes to show you that their codependency was merely on the relationship, okay? And on the energies of you trying to hold on to your energy signature. Now, many of you are going to find that many people are obsessed with power, obsessed with greed, obsessed with wanting to define themselves based off of how they wanted other people to look at them or how they wanted other people to perceive them to be, because we're living in a time zone of social media. But at the same time, a lot of people are behind screens, they're filtered, they're altered, they're indoctrinated by whatever that they try to filter themselves through. The thing about it is that these energies are not going to allow you to filter yourself through anything. Either you're going to show up or you're going to grow up, or you're going to be forced to, let's just say, level up in these energies. Now, so many of you are having to make a decision about your own autonomy, about how you feel about yourself, about moving ahead. There are many people who have to not only take back your own personal willpower, but realize the exertion of your own willpower. Many of you are in this place where, and that was important too, because I just had to clear my throat. Let's talk about that. All right, so you have to step into your own willpower, being a leader of logic and turning things around and not allowing others to control where you are, but standing on your square and being authentically you, unapologetically, because no matter if people like your autonomy or not, the true you is going to come out. The fact that I'm literally dropping 9 books at one time, 9. And I wanted to rush one of the books. Everyone kept asking, where is the book? Where is the book? Where is the book? But the books speak through you. And in essence, we are the books. And in essence, everything is divine timing. And in essence, just like Mr. Turtles, teaching all of us, slow and steady wins the race. It's a matter of pacing ourselves, because everything truly is in divine timing. And if you try to rush who you are based off of someone else's inability to not only not see your worth, but because they're in a rush, they want it now, because we're in a microwave generation. And with that microwave generation, that's mainly what 666 is talking about. But right here, it's about you standing in your own willpower, your own autonomy, and not allowing others to exert their willpower over you, and being authentically you. Because so many people have waited for not just so many people to be about it and show examples that it's possible, but not just talk about it, but then show how it can be done. This is literally the time where we are stepping into 2020, which is the year of the ambassadors. And a lot of people you're not going to be able to take with you, because a lot of people want handouts. A lot of people are still living in poverty consciousness and will be upset with you because they feel that you owe them something and you don't know them like that. And just because you're in these realms of love, you must also keep in mind that there's also a balance of that. There's a balance of dark, light, good, bad, yin, yang, love, and hate. And just as you had to level up in the aspects and the areas of love, there's also the polarity that is trying to countersuit that in the realms of hate. But the thing about it is not tapping into that hate, but taking people's jealousy and hatred of you and using that to your advantage, and taking that energy and holding on to that energy and harnessing that energy to empower yourself to be able to level up and align yourself with these frequencies that are coming in, right? So you feel like you're in a place right now where you're alienated. So many of you are going to feel like you're alienated. There's literally less than 1% of people that are on the planet that are in your frequency. So you feel very foreign to people. You feel very foreign to the times, but yet you're in this space where many of us are realizing that majority that are in the spiritual community, a lot of people like to claim spirituality, but they're not cognitive of the ritual of the spirituality even within them. And then they take it upon themselves to talk about you when in essence they don't know you. And how can they talk about you when they don't even know themselves? So it's a matter of them talking about themselves and you not taking it personal at all. But a lot of people will sit around and they will throw shade on you and tell you, well, we're going to expose you, when in essence they're exposing themselves, exposing their haterism, exposing who they truly are. And not everyone who's rolling with you is truly on your team. There's a lot of people who are rolling with you that are going to be very jealous of you, that are not going to be able to make the shift as you are and have made the shift. We're in a paradigm shift. We have already time jump. We're in a whole nother frequency. We're in a whole nother portal. And because we are, this is a time where many of you are going to be vindicated from people who have hurt, harmed, or injured you. And or those of you who have hurt, harmed, or injured others, you're also going to get your just due service of how it is that you have treated others, okay? But we're in a time where people can see straight through you because we're in such a transitional shift. Now, this is very empowering too. The times are very empowering because we're dealing with the energies of life, death, rebirth, transformation. We're also dealing with the energies of time jumping. We are in another elemental stage of evolution. And because of that, so many people feel out in the cold because they have become so accustomed to having a friend there to lean on, to having someone there to cry on or to talk with or to gossip with or to, go party with. But the way these energy signatures are working for us right now is they're only going to be conducive according to the vibration that we have put out. So you're going to find yourself stepping back from people who have lied to you because they've lied to themselves. A lot of people are heartbroken, and it's going to come even more to the surface right now because the trauma of the world is not only being exposed right now, but the trauma of the world is being exposed based off of a person's willpower and the essence of what it is that their ancestors have done to sell them out towards other, let's just say, dimensional systems, not even realizing that, I always share with you, not all of your ancestors are good ancestors. But the thing about it is, for you to know that it's not about you worshiping someone else's autonomy. Worship is a worship. So when you're worshiping someone outside of yourself, when you're worshiping other gods and other deities, you're not even realizing that you're on a ship of war, which will cause every one of you to even cause division with so many different religions and traditions and indoctrinations that are all over the world. And here it is, we're in the timeline right now of stepping into birthright energies. Stepping into birthright energies is very powerful because now you're dealing with the majesty of you. Dealing with the majesty of you is causing many of you to see that you came down specific portals with family that cause you to go through their portal for you to be shapeshifted into who it is that you are now unapologetically. So everyone that was talking about you in the past is now looking at you still in ponderation, not really able to comprehend you because they're still in a place where they see it, they get it, they know it, but they don't understand it because they don't understand themselves. And instead of them worried about you or worried about themselves, they're so busy trying to worry about you or throw hate on you or trying to be vindicated or still trying to prove themselves right because of the lack of love within themselves that has nothing to do with you. So here it is. You truly are the true magicians. We're in the timeline right now where everyone is empowering themselves. And as everyone is empowering themselves, we're all finding a place where we're having to face our pains or what alienated us or what pained us. Many of you have taken that pain and transmuted that pain into power. You have healed yourself. So now this is where the true magicians, the true medicine men, the true medicine women stand up for the betterment of not just themselves, but be the examples in which they wish to see in this world. So now we're in the time shift of realizing that because of the illumination of healing ourselves, we have been able to make the jump. We have been able to jump into new dimensional shifts, into a new portal, into a new timeline. But a lot of people are swimming for straws because everyone's sleeping with everybody. And because everybody's sleeping with everybody, what they're doing is they're looking for life. They're looking for life force because they're dying off, they're dying out. They're trying to put themselves in a position of advantage. They're looking for your light to give them life. But so many people are heartbroken because they feel that someone else has broke their heart, when in essence they broke their own heart because they were still and are still looking outside of themselves for love, whether it's a friend, whether it's a loved one, whether it's a family member. It's always, look what you did to me, you did this, you did that. And many people are going to see your shine and see your level up and really regret how it is that they have treated you. And in many aspects, they forget that in the past, you were down and out, you were broken, you were traumatized, you were homeless, you needed them, and they wouldn't give you a dime. Now the wealth of the wicked has been literally passed over to the just. You are the peculiar people. That's why you were the weirdo. And now that your wealth is your spirituality, which is your energy signature, many are not going to understand how is it that the dollar has crashed and there is no money, but how is it that you're so prosperous? How is it that you're so wealthy? Because wealth is a state of mind. Wealth is an energy exchange with the spiritual realm of showing that you have done that ritual, showing that you have done that inner work to help yourself transmute the time and transitional stages to help you be the best version that you have been authentically DNA coded to be. However, you are going to have those who hate on you and be so mad and so jealous and so rage and want to feel vindicated because they're going to feel like you did it to them. No matter what's happening in their life, they don't even have to know you. It's just you did it. They're going to expose you. They're going to tell the whole world about you when in essence, they're going to expose themselves because so many of you have ancestors. So many of us have ancestors that do not play at all when it comes to us. And so many of us have not only stepped into our power, but we realize and know that we are the power and are empowered in these times. And it's merely a matter of us saying the word to basically flip them. But in essence, we're so unbothered because we have transcended into our higher selves. And transcending into our higher selves has caused so many to regret not being in a position of advantage in your life and not empowering themselves to roll with you, to say, hey, this is not bad information. You're not such a bad person. Let me try to level up. Let me do my best to deal with the piercing of my own autonomy versus spending all of my energy hating on you or talking about you or backbiting you. Because so many people who have talked about you and backbite you and were against you are the same people that they talked about you to. This is a time where they're going to fall out with those very people. This is a time where they're going to also see that those very people that they have talked to you about are going to turn on them and begin to come after them with the same energy that they have come after you with, right? Right. So now we're in the time zone right now where there's a lot of pain out there. One of the main things that's happening right now is a lot of you mothers are probably realizing that you feel like you're out there and you feel like you're alone, like with your child. You feel like, one second you're your child's best friend and the next second, especially women, feel like you're your daughter's best friend. And the next second you feel like you're like, yo, I'm your mother, like watch who you talking to. But at the same time, I want you to realize, and then not only that, you are even looking at your relationship with your mother as you had to go through that Cinderella experience with her, right? So now what is happening, because we are in the midst of a paradigm shift, so many of us are in this space, in this place where there is a separation, has been a separation of the wheat from the tares, which means that we have made the jump. We have jumped into a whole nother dimension. We have jumped into a whole nother frequency. Now, for those of you who have literally spoiled your children, you've done everything in your power, not just to spoil them, but to spend time with them, to build a better relationship with them. What was happening is that if you spoil them, then you're getting those results of you spoiling them. But at the same time, knowing in essence, deep in your heart, if you have that relationship with your ancestors and your guides, and you say, look, I got my focus on what it is that I'm called to do. As long as you have my child, your ancestors, your guides, they will watch your children. You don't have to worry about that at all. The thing about it is that you must know that this is a test. This is a mere opportunity to prove your greatness, because remember, there are a lot of energies that are being thrown our way. So the energies, when they're being thrown your way, whether it is at home, whether it is at business, or whether it is in a love relationship, the weakest link is going to be attacked. The weakest link is usually the one who has not been doing the ritual, the spiritual ritual, the way that you have been doing it. So whatever energies of negativity, witchcraft, whatever hatred that's being thrown your way, it's going to bounce into your home, and your whole household is going to be tested to be able to shaken you, but yet awaken you. Now, the test that the moms are having with the daughters is a distraction. For many of you, it's happening because you have not transmuted the energies to break away from those generational curses, to face what it is that has been happening from timeline to timeline dramatically within your family bloodline. So now you're in the energy of having to face that. For others of you, same thing is happening. You are also in that energy of testing to where you have not, let's just say you're being tested to see if you're going to be distracted from your calling, if you're going to take a stand, and if you're going to say, oh, this is just a distraction, and because it's a distraction, I have to focus on my call. Because many of you have been on the twin flame journey, and if you've been following my channel, which many of you have, you've been on the twin flame journey and you have been shown not to focus so much on your twin, because not focusing on your twin was strengthening you to not be distracted on your calling, because you're empire building. And as you're empire building, that's just like the king getting kidnapped outside of the castle, and then you go run after the king, and then the entire empire falls. No, you still have to stand on your post and trust your ancestors, trust your way showers and guides, that they not only have your king or your queen, but they also have your seeds as well. They also have your children as well. And if you look at it just like that and know that it's just a distraction, but you stand on your post and you do all that you can do to stand, then just know that your ancestors and your guides, your way showers, they got you. And not only that, you're also being shown your magic, to tap into the majesty of you and know that you are empowered to block anything, to literally protect yourself from any unnecessary energy that is coming against you, as well as coming against your bloodline, coming against your seed, coming against your family. The thing about it is for you to be in this place of knowing that you are empowered in these times in the now. Now, when it comes to you and looking back even at a family member who you feel that they're upset with you or angry with you, that has nothing to do with you. That has nothing to do with you, for the mere fact that they are, let's just say they already have their perception of you. No matter what you do, they're going to be angry or upset or jealous with you, because they're angry and upset and jealous within the lack of love of self within themselves, that when they look at you, you remind them of who it is that they wish that they were. The thing about it is, even when it comes to your children, when your children tell you that they're mad at you and they blame you and you did this to them and you did that to them, that they did that to you, vice versa, you have to remind your children, well, the children chose their parents. So if you chose me as your parents, that means that you chose your parents to come down these specific portals to have the lessons that you are learning. So you could have chosen anyone else on the planet, but you chose me. So the thing about it is to know that that's not even really your child talking when they're talking from a place of blame and negativity and regret and resentment, but know that they are, let's just say, being controlled by lower vibrational frequencies, where if you just ignore it and stand on your post and know within all of your might that you did everything in your power to be the best parent that you can be, that energy is not going to mess with you at all. It's not even going to get to you. It's not even going to bother you. It's a distraction. It's merely a distraction to get you off your post, because if you're so focused on that one child or that one relationship or that one parent or that one business partnership, then you're distracted. That means something else is going over on to the left or to the right or in the front or in back of you that you're not paying attention to, and you're trying to be distracted from your calling. But I assure you, beloved, if you stand on your call and do everything in your power that you have been called to do, meant to do, be, think, act, and feel, then you will know that it was just a playing of the field. Okay? So here we are in the energies of illumination, where we are empowered to step into birthright energies. Because we're empowered to step into birthright energies, so many of you are going to receive the blessings of your ancestors, your moms, your grandmas, your great-grandfathers, who have not gotten this far, who have not done that inner work, who allowed distractions and love and money and fame and opportunity to distract them even from their own callings, even distract them from a connection and a relationship with you, so much to where family after family, timeline after timeline, there has been pain after pain after pain, but you have stood the test of time. You have done that inner work so much to where now your ancestors, your way showers, and your guides are living deep within you to help you magnify the magnitude of your autonomy, to help the greater essence of you bring out gifts and tools and frequencies to be able to vibrate harmonically in the now in a way that the world is going to be tickled. The essence of mankind, or the kind of man thereof, is merely going to be tickled by who you are and your majesty. But the thing about it is, you standing in your willpower and you staying balanced, and you not only staying balanced within the essence of you, but know that any energies of depression that come up, that is not you. You're probably picking up on the energies of the world. The thing about it is, what are you telling yourself? What are your thoughts? What are your feelings? What are your frequencies within you? the frequencies within you will show you that not only are we transmuting through the energies of the underworld. Now, this is the dark matter, the dark night of the soul for the entire conscious collective. We talked about it individually, but the entire conscious collective, no. Where everyone's going through it at the same time, no. So this is why it's such a transformation. That's why it's such a shift. But in darkness is where everything is not only exposed, but everything that has been laid buried and dormant for so long, it grows, it magnifies, it fortifies itself, it becomes longevity, it becomes life, it becomes a frequency of balance in such a way that solidifies all of your actions, all of your behaviors, all of your feelings, all of your ways, whether it is positive or negative, good or bad, light or dark. You're in the frequency of love as well as the frequency of hate. But the thing about it is, how are you balancing that? Because you're going to be exposed for who you truly are. So your life will speak for itself. Don't worry about someone talking about they're going to expose you or they're going to come after you to try to hurt you. Don't worry about that, because truth be told, they're fucking with forces that are literally coming from realms that they don't even want to play with at all. And as far as many of you who are in this place where you're like, oh my God, they're coming after me, and I got these Mr. Smith, things like that. Where are your thoughts at? Change your thoughts and know that thoughts become things and words have energy and power. So as long as you continue to speak in those frequencies that they're coming after you, yeah, they're coming after you. They could be coming after me too, but do I care? No. Do you see me? Well, unbothered. 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 Why? Because they're coming after me because they see my light. That's why they're coming after me, not because they can hurt, harm, or injure me. That has nothing to do with any of that. And the thing about it is that you change your mindset. You be able to shift your frequency and knowing that you are empowered to be you, then you're going to be empowered to be you. The thing about it is, so many of us, so many of you have been in poverty consciousness so long. You have been in the frequency of feeling like I don't have, I can't get, I won't, I can't so long, even around negative people, even around watching television that's been telling lies to your visions, that you have adopted those energy signatures as affirmations that are alienating you, that are hurt, harming, and injuring you in such a way that you're not able to pierce dimensions of a timeline to make a jump into a shift of a new portal. We're here already in the new earth. So I want to chime in on this extended version for those of you who are interested in chiming in on the extended version. So we can go ahead and we can talk about how love is going to break everything down for you and the energies that are coming in. For those of you who are interested, you can chime in on the extended version with me. But for those
Okay, yes. So, yeah, this was Sister Nubian Divine. You can check out her site on Nubian News, spelt with a Z at the end of news. And yeah, can hear more of what she's sharing. There's many of us on the frequency, and are being conveyors of the what we can say, shaking you to awaken you. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, there you have that. In contrast with what I'm being saying. So you got the masculine feminine injection there. And about this the new moon in Scorpio, and the way that this can play out. Now, one size does not fit all. So, it's basically heads up, y'all. But the main things you heard the sister was saying in this, you see, everything is really getting in. I was saying from a little while about this vibrational separating the wheat from the chaff. There is this vibrational, because vibrations, you're dealing with one of the immutable laws of the three immutable laws when we're dealing with laws of existence, where all is vibration. So if you are doing the work, you're jumping into you're stepping in, you're jumping into the timeline vibration of what's moving forward here now. And folk around you are just on some, they're not doing this in the work and so forth. And you having to step away, or you're with groups. I've been talking about this, but it's not resonating with your soul frequency because it's just the same old, same old. And got a call here. One second. Greetings, y'all. Greetings, y'all.
Yo, bro.
Yo. Gita, you can hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right.
How is
Just making sure I got you on the... Yes, this one. Could you
it?
say
Is the show
something?
still on?
Huh?
Are you on the show?
Yeah, I'm on my show right now. I thought you were calling in, bro. You know, giving me
Okay,
a late minute.
No, I just... Yeah. Okay. I can kiss you all quickly if you like.
You can what?
I can kiss you all quickly.
Yeah, sure, man. I mean, did you
All right,
tune
let
in
me-
hearing some of what I was talking about?
No, I just randomly... I was going through my phone, and I just thought, oh, wow, this is Tuesday. And I looked at my thing, I thought, oh, my God, it's like 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, let me just call
Uh-huh.
and see if I can, because I can, as I say, I'm using the KISS strategy,
The what? The what strategy?
KISS.
Explain that,
KISS
please.
strategy. Keep it simple, stupid.
Okay. All right. The
So-
KISS, of course. Keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah,
KISS.
sometimes that might sound too harsh, so you can say, well, keep it super simple.
Keep it super simple.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, so
but
I
listen,
wanna do
man.
just that. I don't know what. Can you just kind of update me on what the topic you're? 'Cause
Yeah,
whatever
well,
topic
basically,
is,
I was
can
given
resonate with.
yeah, I was given a breakdown
Hold on, let
about
me just put my headphones on. Hold
All
just
right.
a second, please.
Okay.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you. You hear me well?
Excellent. I can hear you as
That-
clear as a whistle.
Clear as a whistle. Wonderful. Can hear you as
So,
well. Very
you mean
clear.
to tell me that are we on air now?
Yeah, we're on air, brother. Since you've been calling and I answered the call, I plugged. Yeah, man. So, you know.
This is going to be fun.
Well, what I
right.
was for the last 2 hours, what I've been breaking down was dealing with this new moon in Scorpio, and the transformational, the energies behind it, and the different levels of all of this. About the soul, we're lining up with more about the soul's intention and how things that are, like from the egoic perspective, things that are getting in the way of the soul's trajectory. These things is going to be stripped away from one. So a lot of things coming up, to be also purged, like trauma in the heart. Even right now, we're dealing with the vibrational frequencies of basically what you're putting out there. I was explaining that, there's a vibrational separation going on, the wheat from the chaff, based on the inner work one's doing, putting them on a frequency that's in alignment with, with their divine source, their soul, ancestral way showers, guides, where there's those who ain't working on that, and basically you're not going to be a vibrational match. Things coming back home to roost in the sense of what's been going around is coming back around to those who've been putting them out. And basically, just dealing with how to navigate this Mercury retrograde going through Scorpio, which is bringing up a lot of the shadow side. And it's interesting how we've had this movie called The Terminator that has just come out the 23rd of October, which is 5 days before the new moon, and it's called Dark Fate. And, how things correlate to what's being presented out there with astrological movements. So, and I was going to go into about the higher self and basically about the reality we're creating with our thoughts and feelings, because those are the creative electromagnetic tools that we're using, that is happening, whether we are conscious of it or not. So if there's anything there you feel resonant with, bro. Yeah, you can,
Okay.
Yeah.
I said your volume had gone down. I don't know if...
The volume's gone
something.
down. Well,
No, you're good. Yeah, you're okay now.
yeah, it's just maybe I'm not speaking fully into the mic sometimes, So you hear me very
Okay.
clearly now, yeah?
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah.
Hang on, let me help you with this, because there was a time me and you were to do a show together, and it was about reality, and about the dreamer and the dream and how we're constructing our reality through consciousness.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't matter where you come from. I can connect
All
with
right,
you.
go there, bro.
So,
All right.
So as I said, I want to kiss everybody, and Because, I think, we're not getting to the subject matter,
Say that again?
We are not getting to the subject matter.
Well, the subject matter was already being
And what is the
established
subject
before
matter?
you called. But go on.
Yeah? If you say the subject matter is reality, okay, then what is reality?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
This is a rhetorical question.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm just going, I'm allowing you to flow.
So, reality, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
is basically what you say it is. Or put it another way, whoever you say you are, yeah, then you will have a corresponding perception of reality. Okay?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Now, who are you?
Go
Not
ahead.
you personally. I'm speaking in general terms.
I know. And I know. So I'm allowing you to come through, man. So I'm like,
Yeah.
Come on.
Okay, so I'm
Yeah.
going to be rhetorical here. So who are you? Who are you? You are a creator God. That's who you are.
A
You
creator
are the
being.
Father God.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing that you need. Yeah?
Huh?
That is not you. There's
Yeah.
nothing that you need.
Mm.
Yeah. Let me just use we rather. It sounds, it sounds. I keep thinking, there's nothing that we actually need. We are all Father gods. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
All of us. That's what we are.
Father, mother,
Now-
gods. Yeah.
Now, how is this so? Well, what is our highest perception of God?
Right. I was touching on some of the stuff about
Yeah?
but continue, brother. Continue.
Well, I think for most of us, our highest perception or conception or perception is love,
Uh-huh.
the reservoir of love.
Uh-huh.
Okay? Right? Now, the opposite of love is fear. Okay? So, as we're here as Father gods, creator gods, yeah, if we're either acting in service to self, which is in fear, which generates ego, which generates expectations, which generates need, which generates beliefs. You see?
Mm-hmm.
That's if we're in fear. Now, if we're in that service to self, all of these things are being generated as a consequence of service to self.
Mm-hmm.
See? Now, the opposite to that is love, service to others, okay? And in that position, you don't actually need anything. What do you actually need? All you need is more service. Yeah? Because you are the love. We are the love.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Now, the thing is, we are the love. Okay, minus, fear and greed and all of the, toxic energies and thoughts and things. If you strip them all away, what are you left with?
Only the love. Go on.
You're left with love.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So all of these things that we've generated, through all of our different lifetimes and different, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
we've built up these layers, as a result of service to self, because we've forgotten who we are.
Mm-hmm.
You see? So our business here now, the subject matter that we should be getting to, right? It's not difficult to understand.
I
who
agree
else
with
can
you.
be?
It is not
Who else
difficult,
can you be?
but
Who else can you be, right? So
Yeah.
the thing is, information is frequency, yeah? Frequency carries information,
mm-hmm.
okay?
Mm-hmm.
The definition of consciousness, which is the fundamental basis of reality, yeah? We're actually talking about reality, but I'm just kind of, I'm going to bring all of these things together. I don't know how much time we have. I said I wanted to keep it simple. I can break it down in the next 5 minutes if you want.
Yeah, go
You know,
forward
but we have
because
more time.
I got till about say 10:30. So I've,
Okay, that's about, what time is it now? How much
it's
time?
10 past 10.
10 past 10. Okay,
Yeah.
well, I'll kind of, elaborate on it a little bit, but still keeping it super simple, There's nothing difficult to understand, So the fundamental basis of everything is consciousness,
That's
okay?
it. This is what we talk about. Go on.
Yeah, and what is consciousness? Consciousness.
All right. Go on.
It's
I forgot. It's
information.
it's rhetorical, but you're asking me questions. Go on.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. What is your definition of
No,
consciousness?
go for it. Well, consciousness is life. Consciousness is the creative source of the non-physical, basically the non-physical reality of ourselves. Without the light of awareness is consciousness.
Yeah.
And that is what
So
makes all forms known. But you see, let's give you a version on it. Consciousness
So
is what we is. Go on.
All of this could be understood in terms of knowledge, information, right?
Well, there's different kinds of knowledge and information.
Yeah,
right?
well, whatever.
But when you're dealing with
information.
consciousness, you're dealing with knowledge in itself, because it's, consciousness intelligence is also self-organizing. It is what is created, this mind, emotion, body, and so forth. But it's how deep
Whatever you're dealing with.
it's how deep you want to go in it. But go ahead, brother.
Okay, my point is, whatever you're dealing with, mental, emotional, spiritual, metaphysical, whatever, right? It's all information. That's all it is, essentially. Okay? Now, what you do with that information, that's a different matter, yeah? Two people can have the same information, right? But have two completely different, or no information. So two people can have the same experience, right? They're in the same place at the same time.
But they've interpreted differently. They're given different meaning. Yeah.
Yeah. So one is devastated by the experience, and another is elevated by the experience, even if they lose an arm and a leg, right?
It's a mindset.
Now, how is that? How is that possible?
Because the mindset.
What's the understanding?
Is the mindset. Some people's mindset is based on your mindset. I mean, you can have two brothers who were brought up with the same experience with the father or parent they had who might have been very, drunk and abusive and what's not. And based upon the different mindset one or the other had, one turns out to become, some great university scientist or something, and the other one becomes a bum or back on the drugs or kind of, reflecting back on how their parent, that father, was with them. But it's to do with the mindset, man. It's the choices you make.
Let me apply the KISS principle here.
All right.
Okay. I'll apply the KISS principle in terms of the 4 statements of ultimate truth, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we can look at that in terms of the H5W, if you like,
All right.
But that'll probably be another show.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the KISS principle in terms of of this experience, two people having the same experience and then having two completely different perceptions or conceptions or whatever of it, is simply going to be understood in terms of the 4 statements of ultimate truth. So what are the 4 statements of ultimate truth? The first statement is, nothing in the world is real. Right? The second statement is, the meaning of everything is the meaning we give to it. Okay? The third statement is, we are who we say we are. Okay? And the fourth statement is, our experience, my experience, our experience is what we say it is. That is how two people can have the same experience, right?
Yeah.
But their attitudes and their perceptions, based on their perceptual filters and just all the things you were saying, their traumas and whatever they had in their childhood, they have different perceptual filters, right? So obviously, if they see something, they will have a different perspective because they've got different perceptual filters. One perceptual filters will see this thing as a negative because of some traumatic experience or whatever, and the other one will see it as a positive because of something that has been profitable for him on his journey in terms of that experience. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yes, of course. I mean, I'm seeing as the mindset. I hear the what you're saying there is more of a another level of explanation. What set up that mindset?
I'm trying to keep everything very simple so we don't get, we get sidetracked. It's too much information.
Well, it depends, brother. People taking
Yeah.
things differently. And as I said, I was saying earlier, one size don't fit all. So
Yeah, listen, I'm speaking from my.
Yeah.
Let me clarify. I
Yeah.
should have clarified this in the first. Nobody has to believe anything I say. I'm speaking from my own personal experience.
well, same
okay?
here. And this is the thing. So
Yeah.
so there's going to be
And,
different ways of maybe saying the same thing. If
Yeah,
you experienced it, you'll still get it. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm saying that whatever we've experienced, at the end of the day, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's all the same experience because it's all based on the 4 statements of ultimate truth.
Mm-hmm.
It is simply what we perceive it to be.
Yeah.
And because we are created gods and we've forgotten, we don't understand that we're actually creating the very things that sometimes are challenging us. So the thing is, we're either acting in fear or in love. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So if we're acting in fear, we've got ego to deal with. We've got judgment to deal with. Yeah? We've got expectation to deal with. We've got ego to deal with. We've got beliefs to deal with. Okay? So it's a lot of baggage to carry, right? And that's all based on service to self, because only service to self would need all of this stuff, right? If we're dealing in love, right, we've got nothing to deal with except how we can be love.
No, obviously. I mean, as you keep it simple, some things, though, the whole idea about love, all of that's all caught up in the conditioning and so forth. To know oneself is love, one has to know that the light of consciousness that they are, as the soul is love, because many people are looking for love. And the idea of love with the Hollywood and all of that. I mean, you know, to keep it simple, stupid, or to keep it simple, sometimes as simple as it can be, folks still don't get it because you're dealing with a amalgamation of conditioning, and many people don't take the time or understanding to rid oneself of the mental conditioning to be able to receive spiritual insight and the spiritual understanding to be able to grasp these simple, because they're simple principles to comprehend, but things are made difficult based upon the erroneous way we think and based on the erroneous beliefs. So absolutely what you're saying, there is a simplicity, there is the love, and there is the fear. I wouldn't say that love is separate, fear is opposite to love. I would say that fear is something to do with an erroneous belief in separation, whereas love is the wholeness and the reality of yourself. It doesn't have
I'm just
opposites.
speaking from my perspective, yeah?
Say that again?
Whatever you say, I said you can say whatever you like. I'm just speaking from my perspective.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying to you from what you're saying,
It's valid, yes.
We're not having this over the radio, bro. You know what I'm saying? We're reasoning. So go ahead.
So I'm saying, I'm just clarifying things,
Yeah.
That I'm saying that I'm speaking from my perspective.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You're speaking from your perspective. I just wanted to make that clear demarcation.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I wasn't. Maybe I was a bit kind of, whatever. But
no, man. What you're saying is fine. The thing is, there's nothing wrong with you saying. It's just that it's just what you said, and then I've just kind of bounced from off of that, and just because. As you said, you didn't really hear what was being said on the show prior. You just kind of spontaneously called in. And a lot of what you're saying is correlating with what I'm talking about, for the last 2.5 hours. And I played also a clip from a woman named, Nubian Divine is the title, and what she was talking about, the Scorpio new moon. And what she was saying, complimenting the things I'm talking about. And there are people who saying things from their own unique perspective. But as far as I'm concerned, if you're dealing with this, you're dealing with the same principle, you're going to be complimenting each other's point of view because it's expansion, it's about expansion of consciousness rather than just looking at the same thing, one thing from a corner of a room and not looking at the whole room. Go ahead, brother.
So the idea of the KISS strategy is to kind of consolidate everything.
Mm-hmm.
We're all speaking the same the same language. It's like, you have the story about the different blind men looking at feeling the elephant.
Oh, the elephant, yeah.
And they will have
Different
perception of what an elephant
Yeah.
is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So now, if or another analogy I used to use is like, imagine a jigsaw puzzle. Somebody comes in the room with this huge jigsaw puzzle, in a box. He tips the pieces on the floor. There's a pile of pieces on the floor, yeah? There's so many people in the room. They all grab a handful or an armload or whatever the pieces they can have, and they retire to their respective little corner, and they try to fit together their little pieces of the puzzle, okay? They may be able to swap a piece with their neighbor and everything to make up their own. But at the end, everybody fits together his pieces, and, they've all got a different part of the picture, yeah? So what would happen if one person who has a picture of a boat, wants to say that his picture is representative of the whole puzzle, But that boat may just be a little in a corner somewhere of the picture.
Exactly.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, the thing is, when the guy comes back now with the box,
exactly. So you can see the whole picture.
And everybody sees
That's right.
what the picture is without leaving his respective, position. Yeah, you can see where he fits into the puzzle.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So
Where his piece fits into the greater whole.
My perception of the KISS strategy is that.
I hear you. It's different ways to try to convey to different ways people take in information. But but it all begins with a personal effort, as you know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As simple as we can keep it. You see what I'm saying? It takes personal self-effort. One man can't drink water to quench another man's thirst. Yeah. So, you know what I mean?
So I've basically said what I wanted to say.
Yes.
Now, if we wanted to go into the H5W of what I said.
Now, we're going to have to do another show because.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So this is what I wanted to say. And those who have ears to hear will hear.
We'll hear.
Those who have not,
yes.
will not.
Do you want to touch on it? Do you want to touch on it?
What's that?
The H5W.
The H5W, the H5W simply stands for the H is for the how. Yeah. And the 5 W's are for the why, when, who,
where,
and what.
What? Yeah.
Right. Now, I made a statement when I came on. Right. I said that we're all father gods or creator gods.
Yes. Yeah? Yes.
Now, if you want to look at that statement in terms of the H5W, you say, well, what are you saying, man? Well, how are we, can you demonstrate that? Can you give me a process where I can experience that for myself, right? That's the how, okay? Now, you say, well, what do you mean? What do you mean that I'm a father God? Then, can you show me what you mean?
So how and what?
Can you present the evidence, in other words, so that I can experientially, because unless you experience something, it doesn't belong to you.
Well, this is the whole thing about direct experiential knowing that goes beyond the cerebral, mental. Yeah.
So the process of keeping it simple, is to give the perception, the simple perception, because it is simple. There's nothing difficult. There's nothing so difficult. There's all this other stuff, but it's just information. The real essence, the subject matter, is that you are love. We're here to grow up, and when we grow up to become love. That's it.
Or you realize that you always have been loved rather than you become it.
Yeah. So that's the growing up means stripping away all of this other stuff.
Exactly.
Ego, beliefs, fear, judgment,
I was talking about that earlier, Oh, and through lifetimes we've accumulated these false beliefs, these things that do not represent the true nature of our soul. So we're going through this kind of purge where we're getting rid of it's like going through this process of deciding, what I'm not. You know what I mean? We're getting rid of that which we're not so we can recall who we actually are. And unfortunately, we're giving energy to a lot of things that we're not. So we have to purge all of that false beliefs, you know? It's like,
Yeah.
you know.
The thing is now we're in a different paradigm now.
Yeah.
See? And we need to really, get our fingers out, really.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff happening, which I can go into on another show.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff happening.
A lot of
that we
intense
need
stuff,
to
bro.
pay attention to. And from my perspective, a little bit, there's a story of birds were having a conference once, and they heard that the sky was going to drop.
Okay, I've heard this one.
Yeah.
Go
So
for
they
it.
were having this conference, and all the eagles and all the thing, they were debating this topic for days, And then one little sparrow, he just broke away from the crowd and just went and lay down his back. Yeah. And they all come, looking at, my friend, what are you doing? And the eagles, all these big birds, they said, what are you doing? He said, well, this situation that, it's so, it's so big. It's beyond any of us to handle, So I think the best thing we can do is just do the little bit we can do, yeah? So the little bit I can do is just catch whatever I can catch, okay? So from my perspective, the little bit I can do, is just to keep it simple, yeah? And play my drums. And my flute, yeah.
You know this thing about simple, though, I find that for some people, something can be, you've heard the term, no, it can't be that simple. So they don't know how to accept that because you're conditioned that things must be more complex in order for it to make sense. And the thing is that simplicity and complexity, I find are two halves of the same thing, or two extremes of the same thing. Because within simplicity, there is complexity. And within complexity, there is simplicity. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So they kind of because you can find something, you like what you're saying, we could keep it simply simple. But yet that keeping it simply simple loses somebody because they need something more complex based on, but I got more questions. How, based on those 5 W's you were saying.
It's not about somebody.
Huh?
It's not about somebody.
No, I'm talking about different ways of people, man. Because you're talking about keeping it simple and we're conveying information. And I'm just saying differently to how something can be very simple. We're presenting it, but it's still not clear enough for somebody.
I'll validate what I was actually. I said that, but that's only half of what I want to say.
Okay.
Yeah?
Okay.
Yeah. So what I want to say is that, you're the only person in the room, okay? You are creator God. You are the creator God for your own creation.
Exactly.
With our own creation. Okay?
Yeah.
So using the 4 statements of ultimate truth, right?
Okay.
Nothing is actually real unless you say it is, right?
Unless you say it is.
So I'm trying to say that, if you are but if you are becoming something, you're becoming love, okay? Right? Which simply means service to others, okay? In this context, okay? And so you're always, you're always generating that energy, that frequency, that energy, right? And it's a kind of a backflow return process, It's a breathing, yeah? So the only time the breathing is interrupted is when you have resistance, yeah? So if I'm always seeing, myself being resisted when I try to present this information and how people are going to understand it and so on and so forth, I am going to create that situation within my reality, yeah? So I don't do that. I just simply, see that, what is my grandest version of the greatest vision I could ever behold as to be who I really am, right? And you just hold that vision, and because you're a creator God, right? Yeah, I could actually give you my version of the grandest version of the greatest vision I could ever behold of myself, if you like.
Go on.
I am one with the cosmic mind. I am held gently at all times within the love of the original one, the true God of creation. I'm strong and resolute in my calling. I hear the call of my sacred original self, my true God self, leading me home. I am clear of mind and vision, as the knowing of my God self flows through me at all times. I am in this moment fully embraced by my God self in its connection to the original God. I am peace in the face of anger. I'm calm in the face of chaos. I'm filled with the glowing essence of divine love through which I'm healed. I am the conduit for original truth, wisdom, and power. I am the vessel for divine love. I'm harmless yet powerful. I'm humble yet knowing. I am the living expression of the sacred law of one. I carry the will of the divine through all of my moments, allowing the divine to touch others through me. Yeah? That's what it means to be love. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Yeah.
whole now. I'm peace now. I'm wisdom now. I am divine love now. So that's my perception, you know.
Of the greatest, grandest
which I-
version of oneself,
Yes, of myself.
of
Yeah?
yourself.
So anybody can, you know, create their own version, whatever your version is, you know.
Uh-huh.
And then when you do that, you mean your intention, yeah,
Yes.
because you are already that. What you say, you know.
Yeah.
So you just have to
In reality, yes.
intend it to be and manifest it in its reality.
Yes.
Right? And
Yes.
it's not for you to say that you've manifested it. You will see how you respond. People respond to you, and how things respond to you, you know, will
Yeah.
validate for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's it, man. And you know, on that note, I'm gonna have to kind of
Yeah.
make a move. But I'm glad you said that. Actually, I'm gonna end it on that because because that's a good point. That's a good part to kind of end it and pick up from next strong. You see,
Nice.
you know. So very much appreciated you calling in, brother, and
Thanks for
you know,
having me on,
sharing what you have conveyed. You know, there is that. There's you know. There's that's it's nourishing. You know, and this is the whole thing. Soul nourishing truth.
We nourish each other. You see. This is what we do.
Exactly. And the thing is like earlier, just quickly to say is that, you know, I was saying how a lot of what's going to be coming up is going to be more within this time is really dealing with the energetic communication, because it's what we're saying to ourselves, you know, the energy that we're building based upon the thoughts and the feelings that we are conversing ourselves with. So it's the same thing, different ways of saying it. And as you said, if you're decreeing what is in alignment with the nature of oneself, the nature of the soul, you're already that. So it's about, you know what I mean, just embodying it. But more times we are talking to ourselves about on things that is not true about who we essentially is. But because we're the creative force, we are giving power to make what's not true real. You know, what's not true, we're making it so. Because we're the creative sources. You know what I mean? So yeah, man. In the word, the word becomes flesh, man. The word becomes flesh. Well, you know, so it's what you want to be bringing into crystallization, and obviously, we want to bring into crystallization a reflection of our greatest, grandest version of ourselves. So I'm saying that.
Let me go and let you guys.
Say that again, clearer.
Let me get off and let you wrap up.
Okay, brother.
Wrap up yourself, yeah?
Yes.
Okay, brother.
Okay.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you
so
very much. It was a pleasure you calling, Gita. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you for tolerating me.
Okay. All right. Take good care.
All right, bro.
Okay, bro. All right. Yes. Yes. Look at that. Last minute, end up getting a bonus there. Gita giving us the kiss. Keep it simple. Yeah, or simply simple, or keep it simple, stupid. See how we can make these what we call monograms from words that have more meaning to what, you know, the word appears to be spelling. So yes, so that was Gita, brother Gita, kissing y'all, giving us a kiss, and keeping it simple with the knowledge, but within simplicity, there's complexities, and there's complexity and simplicity. So, you know, it works hand in hand. So, yo, it's time to flow and go. So, I'm going to Yes, I'm going to next strong. I'm going to be dealing with the higher self and go more into this and more about the cosmic weather. But with all those who are feeling the intensity right now, understand that the energy is being activated from within. This is what's going on in the inner heavens. Uh, you know, Rather than you looking out in the outer heavens, which is just a mirror for the inner world, the inner universe, the inner cosmos. So, what any of the info that resonates with you all in there, and you can get something of the jewels out of it to help guide, give you way showing guidance and alignment with yourself, knowing that you're not going nuts, and you could be picking up things as the sister was saying. When you experience this, you know this. You could be picking up things, vibes, feeling depressed all of a sudden. Understand that that may not be you. You're dealing with the collective consciousness, and it really is about tuning inward to yourself, being very honest and true with you and with what's coming up in this period of time. What's coming up, it's for us to purge these erroneous beliefs and so forth. And if you are putting out energy based on the gossip and the, because Scorpio's also, it's got these three hieroglyphs. One is the scorpion, where it's like, people doing things behind your back, stinging you behind your back, want to get revenge. That's one expression of it. Then you got the serpent, which represents the transformation and wisdom. Wise as a serpent. You see what I mean? That level of maturity in the Scorpio. And then you got, or also can represent the phoenix, the transformation, the skin, shedding of the skin, the renewal. And then you got the eagle, which is basically the transcendent consciousness that now sees everything from the higher self perspective. And this is now, you're dealing with the transcendental state. An eagle is used as the symbology because the eagle is the only bird that flies above a storm. And in order, flies above a storm and there till the storm is basically stormed itself out. Okay? Whereas other birds either fly for cover or they try to outfly a storm. But the eagle, it flies above the storm and hovers there until the storm blows itself out. So the qualities in these three stages and aspects of Scorpio, you can see are in the different stages of the maturity of the sign, the psychic development within that archetype. So these are the different things, the different layers that you may be experienced on simultaneously, depending on, your frequency and how you roll and all of that. So, so the new moon is Scorpio. That we've just had yesterday is activating some things, deep stuff. And this is going to go on for the next, this energy. Actually, this is a good time to set intentions, okay, with what new energy you want to be bringing in and what you're done with and what fresh start you want to be in alignment with. So as Brother Gita was saying, our greatest, grandest version of ourselves. And what he was reciting there is, is something that, you can, if you like it, listen back to it, write it down, and use that as an affirmation for yourself. But this is a time of great transformation and stand in and staying in alignment with yourself. And, So look here. Going to wrap it up now and bid you a good shadow hour and trust that you got something out of this that was beneficial for you. So, that being said, I wish you all a good shadow hour, and I'll be back with you next strong with another Cosmic Root Show. the cosmic reality of one's true self to help guide you through these times and for the expansion of consciousness and transformation. Okay, y'all. Peace. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Yeah. All right, y'all. Yeah. Okay.